Hey Journey students, we are starting a brand new series called Now and Later, so let's get started. So about 4 years ago, I went on probably one of the most difficult hikes in the state of New York. It's called Breakneck Ridge. And the crazy part about this hike is that you basically have to climb up the side of a mountain. And there's nothing holding you on. And people died on this hike a few times. And once you get over that part, then there's like some other terrain that you have to climb and climb down, and it's really like one of the most amazing hikes I've ever done. I love hiking, and that was amazing. But the first time I did it, for some reason, it was a terrible idea, but I did it by myself. And like I said, this was about 4 or 5 years ago. And man, there was a certain point in the hike where it seems like the trail that I was on just disappeared. Like it was super clear most of the way, and then out of nowhere, it just stopped being clear. And I didn't know what to do. I was by myself. I'm in the middle of the woods. There's no service. There's nobody else around. It's literally just me. And so I start to search. I go one way, find no trail. Go the other way, find no trail. Eventually, I kind of wind up walking down the side of the mountain, and actually wind up tripping and sliding all the way down this hill, getting ripped up by thorns and bushes and twigs and rocks and everything. And then I'm sliding down on my back, and I roll over and I fall face first onto the trail. And as I look to my right, I remember this so clearly. I remember looking at my right, and I saw that the trail was actually right there. I missed it. If I would have just kept paying attention, it was right in front of me the whole time, and I was so caught up. I actually even went back to see what I missed. I was so caught up in trying to figure out the right way to go that I forgot to trust the way that I was already going. And that's kind of the way life can be sometimes, right? There's not, some things aren't like black and white. They aren't, they're not, there's a lot of things that aren't right or wrong, a lot of gray area, right, in our lives. And we're trying to figure out how to maneuver our way through life, right? So if you're in middle school, you're probably just learning this, that, kind of the decisions that you make, there's things that, aren't necessarily right or wrong. It's just, what's wise, right? So, and then if you're in a later middle school years, early high school, you can probably look back at your early middle school years and see some of the decisions that you made and how they, affect your now. You can see that, that wasn't wrong, but it probably wasn't the best decision, right? And then if you're in high school, like 10th grade or later, you're already starting to think about college, and you have gotten a crash course on gray area and wise decisions, and you have flourished at times, or you have been completely burned, and you know that the real test happens after high school, and it freaks you out. And you're kind of like the way I was when I was hiking on this trail. There's all of these different, what seem to be potential paths, and you know that the wrong one could lead you to a dead end. It could have you completely lost. You could be like me and get hurt and cut up, or you could take the right path and you get there safely to exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's the tension. That's the tension that we're living in this series. That there's just a bunch of gray area. Not everything's right or wrong anymore. You guys are kind of past that. It's what's wise and what isn't. You guys know between right and wrong. You guys know lying isn't right. You know that that stealing is wrong. You know that disobeying your parents is never a good idea. So then, how do we live in this tension where there doesn't seem to be like a very clear path for us to go on? Well, this is where the Bible comes in. In the book of Proverbs, there's a king by the name of Solomon, who is the wisest man in the Bible. He writes just all of these different verses about what wisdom actually is and how to actually kind of protect yourself from just these terrible things that can happen to you in life just based on your decisions, because your decisions can affect you. Every single decision you make, from the smallest one to the biggest one, affect your daily life. And so Solomon wants you, just as he wanted the people he was writing to not fall into those situations where they're getting burned or they're getting hurt or they're going down the wrong path, they're getting lost. So we lean into wisdom because wisdom provides clarity for situations. And so Solomon wrote this in Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." So in order to get the full picture of this verse, I'm going to read it one more time and then we're going to break it down, okay? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, okay? So that first part. So first is trust God, right? It all starts there. It all starts with God, and God is everything. And so trust in the one who made everything, including you, who knows everything, who knows how everything works. If there's one person you can trust, it's God. And the other part is, it says, so trust God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So if God's a person that we can trust the most, right? If there's one person we can trust, it's God. There's one person that really deceives us so much, and it's ourselves. That's why Solomon says, do not lean on your own understanding. Because the truth is, we know how evil we are. We know how just we make bad decisions, how wrong we can be, how selfish and self-destructive we can be, and yet we still choose to follow what we want, even though we know that a lot of times it isn't the best thing for us or even what God wants. So, well, when you're in that gray area and you don't know where to go, you go to God. Don't trust yourself, because that's how you can get hurt. That's how you can get burned, when you trust yourself and keep God completely out of it. And the second part of that verse, it says, in all of your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. There's actually another version that says, and he will show you which path to take. So trusting God will make your path straight, and it'll show you which path to take. And it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like going back to the hiking illustration. There are sometimes paths that look like paths, right? Or there's sometimes like the path that you're on, the right path that you're on, has like some brush or some difficulty, right? Like maybe there's a tree down, it kind of like some difficulty, makes it look like it's not very clear, not very cleaned up there. And so we wonder if there's a clearer way, or if there's an easier way, or if there's a better way for what we want. And so we start looking in other directions, right? So you might see something that might look like a path on the side. Maybe you see it as a shortcut, or maybe you see it as, hey, maybe I can make my own path here. And a lot of times you just get caught up in a dead end. I went four-wheeling this last week, and we went down around like 3 or 4 paths that were just not really paths. They were just closed off. And we had to turn around and try to figure out what to do. And it took us so much longer to get back to where we were supposed to be. And it made me think of that. We have all these different paths, and sometimes we don't just trust the path that we were originally on. We don't just trust the path that God had already set, because he makes it clear and he makes it straight. So trusting God is kind of like staying on the trail, even when there's a little bit of difficulty in there, even when there's a little bit of like lack of when you're lacking a little bit of clarity, but you know that God is still on that path. Sometimes when you see that difficulty, when you see that tree that's maybe you got to step over that and continue on that path. That's just the way God works, because not everything is right or wrong, black or white. There's a lot of gray area in life. And a lot of you are thinking about this, especially if you're in your high school years. You know that, your desire and need for wisdom is going to grow exponentially as you leave after high school, as you go into college, go into the workforce, go into military, everything. Or even as you're in high school right now, in relationships, or when it comes to your schoolwork, or in relationship with your parents. And if you're in middle school, just all of that, you're just starting to get an understanding of what this looks like. So you want to make sure that you are trusting God, because trusting God takes wisdom. And the truth is, wisdom right now can help you miss mistakes later. So if we're looking at what I did, right? Falling down that path, getting all cut up, all beat up. If I would have had the wisdom to stay on the path that I was on and continue to look for the path instead of making my own path, I probably wouldn't have gotten hurt. And I made a mistake. So you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing. You want to make sure that you are staying on the path that God wants you to be on, because wisdom now can help you miss mistakes later. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to trust God over yourself. Like we say, who is more deceiving than yourself, and who can you trust more than God? You want to trust God over yourself. The second thing you want to do is seek out God's wisdom, right? So you seek out God's wisdom, because in the book of Proverbs, you'll see so many different things of wisdom and so many verses that'll just bring you so much value to your life. You want to seek that out, and you want to seek that out in other people. And you want to get God involved in your journey. You want God to be part of leading you on that path. You don't want to make your own way. You don't want to make your own path. You want to follow the path that God wants. So how do you do that? Well, you first look at the Bible. We'll keep it simple. The book of Proverbs. You go into it. You read it. There's so much that you can learn when it comes to money, friendships, relationships, decision-making. Everything that you could imagine is in the book of Proverbs. And it just kind of helps you and gives you understanding on how to do things the right way, God's way. Because the wisdom that's in the Bible is wisdom that comes from God. And another thing is, God can help you through your small group. If this is your first time, or if you've been here a million times, the people in your small group care about you. We want the best for you, and they want to help you. They will help give you wisdom. But that shouldn't be the only wisdom you seek out. Your small group leaders, someone that's older than you, and someone who's there to help. And we want you to lean into them too, because chances are they've been through a lot of what you've been through, and they want to help you avoid some of the decisions that they made and some of the mistakes that they made as well. So take time to talk to your group leader, because here's the thing. Wisdom is so important, and life is brutal. I could tell you that as a 27-year-old husband and a father of a now 2-month-old. There are things I wish that I did when I was your age. Whether I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, it doesn't matter. I could literally point to to situations and things and decisions that I made that weren't very clear on right or wrong, but decisions that I made that I should have sought wisdom on. And I'm paying the price for them now. And hey, my life is good. But man, it could have been so much better if I would have lived my life trusting God and not leaning on my own understanding, acknowledging God, submitting to Him so that He would make my path clear and straight, so that He would show me what path to take. I want what's best for you. Your leaders, your coordinators all want what's best for you. So seek out wisdom, because wisdom now can help you miss mistakes later.